Hey, everybody. Jimmy Smith breakdown time again. This time, the main event of UFC 300, right? We're all the way to the top. Main event. Alex Pereira versus Jamal Hill. Now, to a lot of people, this wasn't the main event everybody wanted. It wasn't what I call the guy at 7-Eleven main event. And what I mean by that is you go to 7-Eleven, you go to the gas station, you go someplace. They don't watch MMA. They look at me, they think I'm an MMA guy, and they go, hey, what do you think about the fight this weekend? That's when I know something's crossover big. When people who aren't normally following the sport follow a fight. This wasn't that kind of main event, right? Ronda Rousey, Conor McGregor, Brock Lesnar. It wasn't that. It's a really solid main event with two very solid, exciting fighters. Former champion who didn't lose the title in the octagon versus current champion who's been on an absolute tear. And there's a lot of story behind it, okay, and we'll get into each and every element of it. But as a main event, it was the best they could do under the circumstances. I think with a stacked card, it's pretty good. So now that that's out of the way, there's some factors here that I think to a lot of people are being overlooked, right? I think a lot of people aren't thinking enough about certain factors in this fight. Now, one of them that I want to break down is Alex Pereira has total in MMA, that's right, 11 pro fights. That's it. That's usually a career that's just getting started. Now, everybody's going to point out he had an extensive kickboxing career. Yes, world-class kickboxer. Okay, great. But his MMA career is very, very short. And as a result, it's hard to kind of gauge exactly how good he is because we don't have that nowadays 8 or 9 fight run to get to the title. And he didn't have to go through that because Izzy was tearing everybody up. He had beaten Izzy twice in kickboxing. So, he was kind of fast-tracked. Now, that being said, Sean Strickland, Israel Adesanya twice, right? Jan Blachowicz, Yuri Prochazka. Folks, all of those fights, current or former champions, right? Sean Strickland, Israel Adesanya twice, Jan Blachowicz, Yuri Prochazka, those are all former champions, right? It was current when Sean Strickland was champion the last time I talked about it, but all former champions. Unreal. That run is incredible. Yes, he lost the second one to Israel Adesanya. Big deal. The point is, he's just been a murderer's row. And he hasn't just won. He's looked very, very good in those fights. Only one that was close, Jan Blachowicz. I still think he won it. I didn't think it was that controversial. I thought he beat Jan Blachowicz. But the problem when evaluating his style is he hasn't fought a wide variety of opponents over years and years and years where you can accumulate the statistical data to tell me exactly what you do. Right? It's like a football player that only plays in the playoffs. Yes, they're playing the toughest teams, but we don't get those 15 games for me to assess, how you do under certain conditions, okay? So that's the problem with anytime you evaluate Alex Pereira. So what do you see? The guy hits like you stole something from him. Incredible power. Reminds me a little bit, if you're an old school fan, of a Chuck Liddell, because he gets a little bit awkward, a little weird. He holds his hands a little bit loose, not that orthodox, but he generates unbelievable power from angles that take people by surprise. Little short stuff, over to the top stuff, little hooks, and you go, wow, this guy hits with real power and doesn't need a whole lot of room to do it. He can knock you out really short. Also, he can take a good beating. He mentally doesn't collapse even when he's losing fights. It's the first Israel Adesanya fight in MMA. He was losing the entire fight until he came back and won in round 5. So, never got mentally out of the fight, never got physically out of the fight. So he can take a beating and he never mentally checks out in fights. It's all that fight experience he has, right? That's what he has going for him. He's one of the few guys, and Anderson Silva's another example, I don't know a whole lot of them, who translated power from 185 to 205. It's the biggest jump in MMA. And usually people don't carry power 20 pounds up. He did, for sure. When he knocked out Yuri Prochazka, who was a tough guy to knock out, I was impressed, man, with that power. I was impressed. So he's been able to carry his power up. So the advantages he had at 185, he still has them at 205. Still not grass out. It's still gigantic. Yuri Prochazka and Jan Blachowicz, big 205ers, and he physically matched up with those guys. So those are the pluses for Pereira. The minuses is he doesn't have the body of work where guys like me, who watch a lot of fights, can really look at everything he does because he spent so long at the top. It's the fastest career run in UFC history to become a double champion. Well, that's good and bad. It's exciting, But it's also bad in that I don't have those years and years and body of work to know exactly what your vulnerabilities are. Also, with the exception of Jan Blachowicz, he's fought almost exclusively guys who stood and banged with him, who were willing to stand and trade, who wanted a stand-up battle. I thought Sean Strickland, actually favored Sean Strickland when he fought Pereira because I thought he'd use his grappling, and he didn't. He's fought guys who were willing to stand and bang with him. That's what he's getting again in Jamal Hill. So let's flip it over and look at Jamal Hill. Former champion, right? Beat Glover Teixeira from pillar to post in their fight. I mean, just battered him for 5 rounds. If you never got a chance to see it. Excellent kickboxer, really slick striker, good hands, good combinations, good speed, real slick, good head movement, nice footwork. I don't think he doesn't have, obviously, the stand-up experience of Pereira. I don't think he's as naturally heavy-handed as Pereira, but he is nice, meaning when he can catch you clean, he can put you down. Pereira can put you down with a shot that isn't super-duper clean. So, everybody knows that. That's what's on the surface that everybody's talking about, right? Striker versus striker, and what are their differences standing up? Jamal Hill a little bit slicker, even maybe a little bit cleaner, but Pereira just naturally gifted with his power, incredibly experienced. Good defense. He can catch punches very, very well. He reads punches very, very well. You get like that when you have a history of elite kickboxing. So, what people aren't talking about, number one, a year off for Jamal Hill. That is a long time in the fight world. All right, last fought January of last year. That's when he beat Glover Teixeira. For people who don't know the story, then playing a basketball game, apparently, near a UFC event. Was playing with some guys and blew his Achilles out. Another thing that's not getting enough press, that is a very tough injury to come back from. Very, very tough. Obviously, it depends on what sport you're in. It is death a lot of times to basketball players who need that bouncing, explosive movement off the Achilles tendon, which connects, of course, your foot to your calf. And I haven't heard enough. I don't really know how everything went. Did he heal up? Did he really take his time coming back? The nature of the UFC and the nature of this business is you're always encouraged to come back a little bit before you should, maybe. Just came out that Dricus du Plessis was offered a fight against Izzy for UFC 300 and went, I can't turn around in time. Apparently he was in a boot, whatever the deal was. And so I just can't do it. Would have loved to do it. I can't do it. You just wonder how much Jamal Hill is rushing it. So the flip side of the coin is that he's been off for a year, and you have to wonder how the ring rust is going to hurt him, especially against a knockout puncher who will make you pay for little tiny mistakes. Jiří Procházka was winning his fight against Pereira and made a mistake and got clipped with a short shot and got put down. The margin of error is this against a hard puncher. It's not a volume guy where this round might suck, but I'm going to see round number 2. No, if you have a bad round against Alex Pereira, you're usually going to sleep. So there's a very small window for Jamal Hill to get in there, maybe make the mistakes, maybe warm up, maybe get his timing and his rhythm, and not get seriously hurt. Right? So it's going to take a second. Whenever a fighter's been off for a while, more than 9 months, a year, you start getting into that, the best time to get at them is early. Don't give them time to remember what they're doing. It's like anything else in life. That if you give somebody time to figure things out, muscle memory is going to take over and they're going to get there, they're going to forget the big lights and they're going to start remembering how to do what they're doing. That first half round, a lot of times when a fighter comes back from an injury, they're just trying to get their bearings again. That's when Pereira should be all over him. Now, the other side of this equation is, other than the Sean Strickland fight, he generally doesn't get it done in the first round. All right? Pereira, a powerful puncher, isn't the fastest starter in the world. And Sean Strickland almost begged him to knock him out of the way. He fight. Stayed right in his face, right in range, and Pereira went, okay, hit him with a left hook, and it was over. If you don't press the issue early, Pereira typically won't press the issue early. Typically speaking, he's there, and he might land some good punches, but he's not I'll try and bulldoze you in round number 1. So part of my question here, and once again, it's hard to say without the volume of fights, is will Pereira kind of change his strategy a bit? If I was coaching him, I'd go, hey, step it up a little bit in round number 1, see if we can get this guy out here early before he fully warms up. That isn't typically Pereira's pacing, right? Usually warms up a little bit and then gets super dangerous. Also, the way he has cornered himself, now he could be lying, which would be smart. Jamal Hill has said, I'm going to go in there and stand up and knock him out. He has kind of strategically cornered himself where a takedown especially early, will be seen as cowardice. I don't believe in that crap at all. You're out there to win. Okay, I tell fighters all the time, you can be a world champion or you can be the I'm here to entertain the crowd guy. Rarely are they the same person. Sometimes they are. But, the all-time greats, they could be entertaining. That wasn't their first priority. The first priority was winning, okay? So Jamal Hill has kind of, made his line in the sand of I'm going to stand and bang with this guy. And so you have a guy who is coming off an Achilles injury. We don't know how severe. We know how severe it was. It kept him out for a while, made him drop the title. But how good his rehabilitation has been, we just don't know. Second thing, he's been off for a year. Third thing is he has committed to the one strategy that plays right into the strengths of Alex Pereira, who's one of the best all-around kickboxers in the world. All of those things make me favor Pereira in this fight, right? Odds right now, last time I looked, were about, minus 150-ish. Let's take a look, see how much they have changed. But last time I checked it out, 1.5 favorite for Alex Pereira. Let me check it out here. Alex Pereira, a bit less of a favorite right now, minus 130. Yeah, and get Jamal Hill at plus 110, plus 115. I'm going Alex Pereira for that money. Yeah, anything under 2-1, I'd go with Alex Pereira for all of those factors. Not that Jamal Hill can't win, it's that he's kind of quartered himself and said, I'm going to stand and knock this guy out, when maybe if he tested the takedown a little bit and did some ground and pound and soften him up a little. He's been off for a long time, coming off an injury. Alex Pereira has looked very, very confident, even at the elite level in the UFC. So right now, my pick, Pereira, I would say by knockout. And let's say because of the time off, because of the ring rust, we might see a quicker start from Pereira. I would take the under. So, Pereira by knockout, under. Let me know what you think and enjoy your weekend.